everyone, how are you? Anna Walker here with Anna Walker Designs and StabThingsIntoExistence.com. I decided just to do one camera angle this morning and get right into our project. Yesterday we started a project for some felted pin cushions, and it's a project that uses a combination of wet felting and needle felting, and I'm going to turn the camera down and we're just going to get to the second part. Good to see you today. Okay, so this is our sample. It's a wet felted pedal pin cushion that uses a wool felt wrapped center, and we turned it into a floral pin cushion. Now, yesterday we took some pretty colored rovings and we turned it into some petal shapes and we wet felted them. And I've got one here that is completed. And now we're going to take, and we have this wool felt strip that has just been wrapped tightly. And then we just do a little simple whip stitching on the end. And it doesn't matter if the thread's matching or not. And then we have a nice little center to our flower. Now, this was pretty cool. I got some end pieces from the Pendleton Wool Company this year, and some of the junctions where they connected one piece to the next piece, I thought that the little loops of thread were so interesting, and I thought they would look fabulous as the center of a flower. So we're going to use this today, and this is going to be the center of our flower here. But here's one of the pieces that was felted yesterday, and I've attached it to our wool felt center. Again, this is a piece of that Pendleton wool here that had a little bit of a color variation on one end, and I think it works beautifully for the center of a flower. So this is what we're going to finish up with today after we put this together. So today is all about needle felting. Now, when we get our petals done with wet felting, when they're done, they've been wet felted, they've been rinsed, and they've been dried, sometimes you'll find some areas that didn't connect very well, or other areas that connected too well. And so you'll need to come in with your felting needle, and I just like to overlap it slightly, kind of at an angle, and then take my felting needle right at that juncture and just connect it. Now, because we're going to needle felt this onto that center, I only need to make sure that I've got a connection there. It doesn't have to be a firm connection. And so I'm just checking around, and it looks like that is the only area that has got that really loose connection. So for next step, I'm just going to take and wrap the petals around our base. Now I've got pins here just like crazy to help me hold things into place if I need to, and I can just pin it in place. When I start wrapping this around, I want the petals to be down pretty close to the center so that we have an opportunity to spread those petals out by lifting them up ever so slightly on the next rounds, so that it gives us that blossoming and opening effect. And I'm just going to put a pin in here every once in a while just to hold that in place. I like to push them all the way in so that they don't get pulled out accidentally. And I just keep wrapping it around, lifting it ever so slightly. And I'm going to pull this one out and overlap and pin that right in. And you see how by doing this, we are getting, one, a lovely spiral effect, which is the effect that we'll get for a flower, but two, it allows that flower to look as if it's opening up. Now I can, pull tighter, rearrange how I want on this, and I think I will do that just a little bit, because this side looks a little on the shy area, And I want to make sure that we can get a nice rounded look to our flower here. So I'm going to try. The nice thing, you know, felting, it allows you to do a little bit of stretching without causing any trouble. And let's just put that pin right in there. Okay, I like this a little better. I can take after we felt it and we can pull those petals out just a little bit more. But you see how it gives you that beautiful look of a floral design. And we've got our center where our pins are gonna stick when we're not using them. But for now, it's all about felting on the outside. Now I'm gonna squish all of the petals at the top together really, really well, because now we've got to do some heavy-duty felting here with our needle. All the way along, you're going to feel for where that edge is of your felted core, that felted wool that was wrapped in the core. And we are going to just stab like crazy to get our petals to connect to that core. And we're going to go all the way around. We want to have a very, very good connection here from the top of the core, the center of the flower, all the way to the base of the core, or the bottom of the flower, the bottom of the blossom. And we're going to go around a couple of times here just to make sure that we've got a really good felt going. You can take out the pins as you're going around, because our felting needle is hopefully going to connect everything very, very well. Now I'm using probably a size 38 needle. I honestly don't know. This is one of my older needles that's in my sort of utility pouch, as it were. And you can see our petal here is just overlapped, and it's up pretty high, so we want to make sure that we get this felted in very, very well. And sometimes I'll work with a double needle. You can take 2 needles at once. This takes practice, kids, so don't feel bad if you're not here yet. But you can take 2 needles in your hand and you can get just a little bit more aggressive with those 2 needles there. Now you're going to feel something, you know, weird when you're felting, because you've got that felted wool fabric in the very center. And so it's going to, you know, there are going to be areas that are going to feel like, oh, what did I just stab into? It's okay. You've just got the fabric going there. Go ahead and be a little aggressive, especially on these edges where your petals have come up a little higher, because we want those very nicely connected in. I'm going to continue going all the way around, holding our petals out of the way. And you can see I'm being pretty aggressive here, but I know I can be, because that wool felt fabric in the center, it's felted very, very well, so I don't have to worry about the needles tearing into it. If I were working on the petals, I wouldn't be quite this aggressive, because the petals are a lot more delicate than what that wool fabric is in the very center. But down here at the base of the petals, I want to get that petal fully integrated into that wool felt fabric that's in the center of the flower, so that it will hold its position and it will hold itself in place. Now granted, pin cushions don't get, you know, a lot of use and abuse, but you still don't want them falling apart. You don't want them, you know, having loose edges that you have to worry about as you're sewing or hand stitching. I have been pleasantly surprised by the increase in interest in slow stitch, in doing hand stitching, in doing sewing. People are getting back to the heritage arts, and I absolutely love that. I mean, that's what I grew up with. I grew up sewing and, you know, cross stitching and needle points and all of those old-timey kind of practices. And there's nothing old-timey about a skill. It's a skill that can be used in a lot of different areas. I call them post-apocalyptic skills, and heaven knows we might need them someday. So it's a good thing that I know how to stitch. It's a good thing that I know how to stab things into existence, because I might have to at some point in time. Stitching more than the stabbing. Although, with stabbing, as long as I've got felting needles, and I know how felting needles are made, then I can make, oh gosh, I can make clothing, and I can make blankets, and I can make shoes, and boots, and gloves, and you name it. But you see, I'm going all the way around in a lot of different ways, especially along this top edge, just to make sure that my petals are fully felted onto my base here. And we're going to turn this around, and now I can take and I can look at the individual petals, and I can sort of flatten it out and see if maybe there are areas that I need to sort of come in here and bring that petal in just a little closer to that base, because I want to make sure that these are nicely connected, that they're not going to get loose, that they're not going to be, you know, torn off to the side. If I have an area that just needs to be tacked in a little bit more, now is the time to do it. And sometimes it helps just coming in at this 45-degree angle here, just to give it a different angle for those petals to grab a hold of that center. Okay, I am happy with this. And now what I'm going to do is take a look at the bottom. Now, I can see on this piece that I don't have quite enough fiber to cover the base here. So I'm going to grab a tiny bit of fiber. It can match or not match. That's not the issue, because it's going to be sitting here at the bottom. I just want to make sure that I have that core covered up. So I can take some fiber and just roll it around. Now this is another area that you might want to consider. If you want to weight this down, in this one, you can see a little bit of the outline. I have a washer covered in fiber and then needle felted onto the base, and that gives me a nice solid base. It's going to stay straight when it's laying on my table, and if I have a magnetic bar, it can hook onto that magnetic bar and I don't have to worry about it going anywhere. So this would be a good time to wrap this fiber around a washer. Doesn't matter, you know, what size, just, you know, make sure that it's sized to your base. But you can add a washer to give a little bit more stability to your pin cushion. A lot of pin cushions have sand in them, especially, you know, the old tomato ones. You know what I'm talking about? Those old-fashioned tomato pin cushions. They have, you know, sand in them, and that gives them a little bit of a solid weighted structure. And so that's what the washer does as well. It gives us a nice solid base so that we don't have to worry about it being so top heavy with the pins, or easily knocked over. With that little bit of extra weight in there, it will be a little more stable on your table. Ooh, that rhymed. Stable on your table. I like that. So you see, I'm just going all the way around, and there's nothing that says I can't come in after we get done with this here and add that washer on. You could certainly, if you didn't want to needle felt it in, you could certainly glue a washer onto the base. It's your pincushion. You do what you want. I like having the washer enclosed by fiber so that it's an unseen support instead of a visible support, but that's totally up to you. I just couldn't find my washers this morning. I know where most of my fiber stuff is, but washers aren't generally in my fiber stuff. All right, and you see I've got a little loose area here, so I'm just going to take this opportunity to come in, give it another little bit of working all the way around. And unless you have, you know, critters that might decide to grab hold of a petal and pull, this is a nice medium felting, not a firm felting. It's more of a medium felting because it's not going to get a lot of action. But if you've got critters, either human type or kitty type or dog type, whatever, you might want to reinforce your edges here a little bit more. But there's our project. Now I've got a floppy little petal here, and I'm probably going to come in and just attach it a little bit more to the petals in front of it to give it a little more stability so that it'll stand up. But you know, sometimes we all flop about. See, and just that little bit, and we've got it standing up. And there is our floral pincushion. I told you, easy project. This is something that anybody can do. So I encourage you to give this a try. I want to let you know, one, there will be some new products on the website within the next day or two. I'm taking pictures today. So please head over and take a look at those. I'll make an announcement here when those items go live on the website. And tomorrow's the day. Tomorrow's the day. We've been waiting for it for months now. The FELTit experience opens again for new members tomorrow. And I hope that you will join us in this exclusive community where you can learn everything you need to know about felting and have the support of a community and access to me on a weekly basis. I hope you'll join us. So this is all I got for today. I will come back again tomorrow. So enjoy the flower power, okay? We'll talk to you later. Bye.